Got him. Move him.
Okay,
Got anybody online?
No.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order of the Board of Health. Thursday, February the 20th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Silence your phones if you've got them on. And let's see. We're on Zoom, we're not on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we are.
We're on both?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so call this meeting to order. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Board of Health Chairman Bill Canada.
Here.
Board of Health Member Luke Sepp.
Present.
Board of Health Member Paul Vogelson.
Present.
And Board of Health Secretary, Mike President.
And anybody in the audience out there?
Do these
Just-
count, are
yes.
they
No, they are,
audience?
Dorothy would,
I just need to know where I have to put them.
yeah.
So,
move over there.
No, that doesn't mean over there. I actually haven't heard to it too, because,
so Sarah would be considered in the roll call,
yes,
and then Dorothy is audience. Okay. Public Health Director, Sarah Vogelson.
Here.
that's for the record. Okay, any amendments to the agenda?
Come on in.
Come on in.
The agenda.
Okay. So we still have.
Okay, introduce yourself, you just walked in.
I'm Ellie Jackson. This is the Board of Health meeting. right?
Yes.
Yes. Jackson, I'm not introduced.
Okay. Now. And any amendments to the agenda?
No, sir.
Oh,
Not that I know.
approval of the minutes?
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from the November 27, 2024 Board of Health.
I'll second that amendment.
And, by the way, did a good job. Did you type them up?
I did, yes.
Looks very nice, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're lucky, Sarah.
I'm very lucky.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Lucas.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Canada, aye. Okay, reports. We've got sanitarian up first. And you always will be, Dorothy.
And I appreciate that, that way I can go back.
Right.
So,
Could
thank
do
you very
something
much.
real. So.
Just to give you a summary of the compliance issues, so far in the past, I'd say probably a year and a half, we've had 104 issues that were related to the sanitarian position. 54 of them we've closed out, completed. We have 35 that are in progress. That basically means we've sent out a letter, hoping to get feedback from them or come to some working agreement with them. We have 11 that are sitting with the attorney right now. Some of them are going to trial here soon. We have 4 that I'm still investigating, so I haven't done anything with them. I'm still looking into them. Only one of them is real urgent, and I'll be taking care of that here within the next day or so. We have 14 septics over the past year and a half that have been installed based on our efforts, so that's progress in the right direction. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is the changes in the state HALTS regulations. They will make their final ruling. They're going to have the hearing on March 10th. It is via Zoom. They went over all of the changes in the training that I went to in Golden this last month. The changes that are really going to affect us, I'm putting a summary together and I'll send out to you guys. I did not get that done before the meeting today, but I will send that out as soon as I have that done. The packet's this thick, so I don't want to give you the whole packet. There's certain things in there that are be the biggest impact on us, and I'll pull those out. We do, we have a year to get them implemented, so if they vote on the 10th to agree to all and implement all of the changes, we'll have a year from that date, whenever that's signed, to implement them and send our county regulations, if we revise anything, back to them for approval. So
Okay,
that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if we want to have a workshop to review some of those things.
well, that would be, now, that would affect, you gotta separate the Board of Health from county. And so that would probably be,
Well, it's ALS regulations.
the outstress of lake regulations. Are you inspecting septic systems as the director of planning and zoning, or are you doing it as a sanitary?
I would say that'd be sanitarian, but.
Well, I don't know, who issues the permits? You, not the public health agency. So you gotta keep the offices separated. So that would be a commissioner's item.
Well-
The ops regulations would be something that we would.
I think we need to talk about that then, we will, because according to the regulations here, it does say that it's,
Public health,
all of the regulations refer to the Board of Health.
okay, if that's the case, then we have to move it out of that from what it has been in the past, because you've been issuing permits as a county, not as a Board of Health. See what I'm saying?
So the permit would have to be Board of Health.
It sounds like to me, if that's the case, if those regulations are under the purview of the public health.
It is coming from,
Well, the health department, and we need to understand, well, if the other public health agencies are administrating the septic systems in the counties, then maybe that's true. Up to now, it hasn't been in the public health agency's job to do anything.
But
Well, that's
landfill
part-
and recycling are under CDHPE as well.
That's right, it doesn't matter, that's correct. That's true. CDPHE has other things.
Because that's who gives us our
whether license.
our license to open the area fill is CDHPE.
I'll clarify, I'll go look into that, because I've worked with the health department and CDHP a lot. So I'll find out, but right now, as far as I know, the health departments are not issuing septic permits and working with the contractors.
And maybe we're looking more at what is the difference between issuing permits and inspecting septic systems versus sanitarian
Right, the
issues.
sanitarian issues are health things, that, because if that system, like when they had the awful issues when they were, that happened awful out there in the gulch. Or a septic system that's dumping on the ground, that's a sanitarian issue that would work, but we wouldn't be doing it through,
Would that result in an inspection, and if it's leaking or whatever?
as far as I know, every other county issues the permits from the public health department.
it never happened here, so we will have to straighten that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Which means you would transfer the health department to work, and it would separate out the zoning stuff. So we gotta figure out what we're doing. And in the past, because we hadn't really gotten straightened out on a lot of these processes, like we are with HR now, it's legit. But then we'll have to decide how we do that, and how we separate the two jobs, as we have a director that covers both. Okay.
But I can tell you that the implementation of these new regulations, if they go through, I can't imagine they would have done the training session with all of the individuals that
It's probably true.
are not gonna go through. It's gonna be a chore.
So we'll have to separate the department.
I sent Lucas and Sarah a copy of them. Would you both like a copy of the new regs? I don't wanna bombard you with something you don't have time to go through, but if you would like a copy of them, I'd be more than happy to forward it to you.
Should we have?
If there's two grades, there's the county version that we take parts of, and then there's the state itself that we all, and although both those, the contractor has to be there.
And our regulations have to be at state standard or above.
Right.
The only thing that, as the person doing this up to this point, that I would say that we would not wanna follow the state or would need to be above the state regulations would be our Schedule 40 pipe because of our grant. I don't know why we couldn't stay with just what the state is recommending and leave it at that.
So we would adopt the states and add in that we're gonna do Schedule 40 pipe instead of whatever the state.
Which is what should be done anyway, I don't understand why they don't. Pay for it.
So I've been looking at both and trying to
Because of
compare.
40 is what everybody uses.
The only other difference is how close we put a tank to a house. We
Right.
say 5 feet, the state says 5 feet, we say 10. I don't know why we're off on that. There would be, I don't see any logical reason as to why that's different.
Probably decks. We didn't wanna put decks over a tank.
Well, it shouldn't, you should say not under that, not inspect a foot. Anyway, that's something that we're our own deal with. Plus, the cities, usually the cities are a lot easier to dig in, have the rocks. It's a whole different world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the eastern front is a whole lot more dirtish.
Yeah, I love the color.
The only other thing I have is I talked to Dan about one issue that we've been working on for the last 2 years. And I really don't, it's a situation where we have not been able to contact this person to serve papers. And so, I think we kind of talked about
Yeah,
that.
the state is just that.
I need to figure out if we need to involve the state, because it's definitely a health hazard. And I'd sure hate for the neighbors to have another summer where they can't use their cabins because of the issues that one particular neighbor's causing. So if we could schedule some time to get together sometime, just give me a call. Sounds good, Tracy. Either that, I'm gonna have Dan try to redo everything, and have the sheriff's office serve her again, but they just haven't, she's there. She just stays inside.
Yeah. She's hiding now.
I'll eat you.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
So, I really do think it would be septic, if that's the case. But septic could go out, separated out, and
I would need to have one check on that.
that's exactly right.
Oh, weird.
And
Okay,
we
I
might
haven't
have to have
transitioned this, we'll see if they
meetings,
turn
workshops
out.
on that, because that's gonna be a
We're
whole,
back.
that's gonna change your
And
world.
some of these numbers
will.
changed since probably.
Yeah.
Just because we had to wait to hear from you.
Theirs is probably different than
Could be a result of the past where we had
Yeah, so this
should be
our
updated.
HR and finance got
Too,
changed.
I'll let them know too, but.
Where the nurse was just, it was just a nurse, that's all public health was a
But you
nurse
don't
to
see
get-
house regulations in any of the statutes that set up
Oh,
public health. So.
Yeah, it's weird that landfills and recycling is all under CDHB as well, right?
Sure,
That's
and it's a
where,
whole different thing, so, I think she, maybe what the cities are doing, she may be wrong about the transfer, so.
it'll be interesting to see how Ferno and Saguache and some of our surrounding counties do it, so. Yeah, and this isn't the year to do it, because we would need to put it in a whole new budget,
Oh,
so,
yeah, we can't, we have to switch.
yeah.
Okay,
Alright,
all right, Sarah, you're on.
You got it.
okay, so we get to start with the fun stuff first. So I've broken it down into local, state, and national epidemics that are happening. So locally, we had 2 separate hand, foot to mouth outbreaks, 14 total affected, mostly children, but contained quickly. So hand, foot to mouth is a highly contagious viral illness that causes fever, mouth sores, rash on the hands and feet. So what you can do to prevent this is wash your hands, disinfect surfaces, and keep away from others infected. Then we have our respiratory illness. We did have a COVID outbreak, all adults, 10 affected, contained quickly. So we're just keeping a close eye and getting to know our Epitrax system. That's what the state keeps track of all our disease outbreaks through. Statewide, we had a hepatitis outbreak up in Boulder around December 30th and January 5th. So it was from a bartender that was serving contaminated juice. So the number, they're still watching out. For the most part, it's kind of wrapped up, but that was pretty interesting. So hepatitis A is a liver disease caused by a virus that's spread through person-to-person contact of contaminated food and drink, and can be prevented through vaccine, which we do offer. Then the norovirus, does anybody know what this one is? It is not fun. So this is otherwise known as the stomach flu. It is not actually influenza. It's a virus that is highly contagious, which causes an inflammation of the stomach and the intestines, resulting in vomiting and diarrhea, very forceful vomiting and diarrhea. So usually sets on pretty quickly within 12 to 48 hours, only lasts about 2 to 3 days usually. Spread.
Where is it? Yeah, Sarah, is it just in Denver area, or is it down here?
It's everywhere.
Including here in the county. So we've had people infected by that already, here.
Myself included.
Oh,
Not fun. And then 3 out of my department. So super fun. So to help prevent this, please wash your hands, disinfect surfaces, and keep away from others. So this little puppy can live on soft surfaces for up to 12 hours or hard surfaces for 2 weeks if unsanitized.
yes.
So when you sanitize, especially with like Lysol wipes, it needs to sit there for a good 10 minutes, like really drench that contaminated surface. So,
If somebody's driving around out in another county, they come in, could be in your car or on a steering wheel or whatever.
yeah, and it's spread through contact with bodily fluids. So the reason you get sick is you've come in contact with some type of contaminated vomit or feces. So fun. This is especially dangerous in your littles, so your little kiddos, because what happens is they dehydrate so fast and can result in hospitalization. So this, though it's not fun for us older people, it is especially dangerous, and for like the elderly or the frail, this could really result in hospitalization. So no, it is everywhere across the state. It spreads like wildfire and stays, if not properly cleaned. So beware, wash your hands.
How about the school? Yeah,
So
numerous cases.
we've been in contact with the nurse. She has not given us specifics, but rumor has it that it has been spreading for the past few weeks at the school. So she wasn't able to give me concrete case data, but it is circulating, so to speak. So again, please wash your hands. Not fun. And then of course our avian flu friend. So Chaffee and Boulder County have had geese tested positive with the bird flu. Otherwise, around the nation, and even the state, numbers have kind of stabilized. It's out there. So just to be aware, and my biggest thing here is do not touch dead or sick birds. Call the Department of Wildlife. Do not touch it. No touching. So that is the biggest thing I can send home. And if you're at higher risk or you have backyard flocks, go ahead and get your flu vaccination. They said that is the best protection they can offer at this point.
So how do the chickens get it?
So it transfers through, I believe, the feces of the wild birds. So anytime like a wild bird would potentially, who would be infected, could come in contact with your backyard flock and theoretically infect them. So they have said too that it's hard to tell if, in human cases, if the humans are asymptomatic, if they are contagious, or if they're spreading it, because they're not symptomatic. So the good thing is that people are now becoming more aware of the prevalence of avian flu, so there's more testing. So we're becoming, we're getting better numbers to really determine, is it spiking in one area, why is it spiking in one area, and things like that. There is also been recently published that the government has stockpiled avian flu vaccines. But the government has it, it's not available to the public at this time.
Vaccines.
For the avian flu,
So,
specifically the H5N1 strain.
And that would be for humans,
That would be for
vaccination, not.
They just have not
chicken.
released it, because the avian flu's been around since the 80s, so they've had time to develop it, they just haven't released it for commercial use yet.
Okay, another question that a rancher actually asked.
Sure.
If a chicken has it in your flock, do they die or do they get over it and they have an immunity to it? And why would you want to eradicate the whole chicken flock?
See, and it
They don't want to
depends.
kill all his chickens.
I can answer that. Mostly birds die within 24 to 48 hours.
It's pretty,
It
it's
means
a
they're fatal to a bird immediately.
pretty highly, it's highly pathogenic, so yes, if the bird's gonna, and it depends on the bird too, like if the bird is sick or older, you know, I mean, you could get into the nitty gritty of the details, but yeah, so big picture.
It's not like humans where you can get over it and you actually get stronger for it. by building
Correct,
up
it's
the
probably gonna take the bird out,
Okay.
and then potentially affect the rest, it could potentially affect the rest of the flock, it just kinda depends, they're still watching it and they're still
Okay.
producing guidelines, so it's, just don't touch sick or dead birds, please, that's my biggest takeaways.
All right.
I learned that as a kid.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or any
Don't
wild
wash your
animal.
hands.
Exactly. So the next slide is these national outbreaks. So are you guys familiar with the tuberculosis outbreak that happened in Kansas recently?
Yeah.
So 67 active cases, 79 latent or inactive. So that's just where the tuberculosis is being actively spread. It just resides in the human. So good thing is, what TB is, in case people don't know, it's an infectious bacterial disease that affects the lungs. It is airborne, which means it spreads through the air particles. Most at risk people are those in compact communal living, so your prisons, your homeless shelters, things like that, or you're immunocompromised, so you don't, you have a chronic condition, cancer, et cetera, that puts your immune system at a down level, which you may be more susceptible to tuberculosis. Overall risk to the general public here in the United States is pretty low. So just, we're aware of it. We don't have any large communal living. We keep tabs regularly with our only assisted living, which is our communal living, which is at Valley. So, and all of their staff gets tested for TB prior to employment. So they are cleared and made sure that they don't have active or latent TB prior to entering Valley. So that helps reduce the spread.
One other question too along the same lines.
Sure.
Tuberculosis, people used to come to Colorado to
Yes.
here because of what? The reason is the altitude, primarily.
Yes, and the
Right.
sunlight.
And the sun, that's right, the sun.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually got to go to there was a really great exhibit up in the historical museum, I believe it was up in Denver. We went with the kids when I was a school nurse, and they had a whole tuberculosis exhibit. It was very fascinating in the history of Colorado.
That's a
so.
big deal. As a matter of fact, if you look back at the old newspapers, they referred to people that have been staying up here to recover from tuberculosis.
Absolutely. It's one of the most prominent diseases in the world, so it's very interesting, and we, like I said, we're gonna keep tabs on it, and then I'll talk a little bit later about what we do at Public Health.
Okay.
So, then the other fun outbreak is measles in Texas. So listed here, that square is Gaines County, so that's where they believe that the outbreak originated, from a 17-year-old unvaccinated teenager. So then it developed into 45 cases. It has now spread, there's a total of 58 cases as I last checked yesterday. And they've spread to, these are the neighboring counties, and there is also 2 cases, they haven't connected it yet, but most likely, in the neighboring county in New Mexico. So, big thing about measles. So measles is a highly contagious virus that causes an inflammation of the brain, which can lead to pneumonia, deafness, developmental disabilities, blindness, or death. It is an airborne virus, and it remains in the air or on surfaces for up to 2 hours. So, big takeaway here is measles used to be a thing in the past, but we're starting to see more outbreaks now.
So where does measles come from? Because unless the 17-year-old wasn't just carrying it around as an unvaccinated individual, so they either went somewhere where
Measles is coming, which could be. They have not released any specific details, probably to protect these cases. Most of the cases are occurring in 5-year-olds to 17-year-olds, so that's the most cases. But out of this 58, 13 have been hospitalized. So, and 4 out of the 58 were vaccinated. So it didn't say whether they were partially vaccinated or fully vaccinated. It did not say, it just said vaccinated. So keep in mind. So
Can an unvaccinated adult get it?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I had a question pertaining to that.
Sure.
Would you recommend that adults, even if they have gotten an MMR, like get a titer or something to get tested?
You could. It's mostly if you've had most likely, if you've had the childhood vaccines, you could always get a titer to double check. We usually do not give MMR in adults if they've been prior vaccinated with their
They won't
child.
always.
Again, but you can always get a titer, there's no harm. Then you at least know for sure, and your physician can guide you from there on a case-to-case basis. Good question. And so, biggest thing here, the highest risk is to children under 5, pregnant people, immunocompromised, and the unvaccinated. The deal is with the children under 5 is because they cannot even receive their first vaccine. So even if you wanted to vaccinate, you can't get it until age 1 because it's a live virus vaccine. So that's really unfortunate because it poses and it hits those little bodies really hard. So you're talking about fevers that spike over 104. So seizures can happen. And that's kind of where the encephalitis, the inflammation of the brain happens, and that is what causes your blindness or your deafness and potentially fatality. So concern for us, travelers over spring break, I know a lot of Texans like to come up. So like I said, it's kind of, you can see where the location is right there in proximity to us in Colorado, up yonder, and those traveling. So if anybody goes down to Texas in this region, they need to be aware. I'm sure it's been all over the news, but we want to make sure that people are proceeding with caution, and if you don't necessarily need to travel to that area right now, I wouldn't, just to help protect the spread. They are watching it very, very closely. So as we go to the next slide, I will kind of further, so I looked at our Custer County School District in immunization compliance, just to kind of see like where we're sitting. So this is, if you'll refer to your handout, there is a chart data, looks like this in the little guy, and you can specifically, so these are all of the vaccines that are required for you to go to school. But you can exempt out of any or all, if you would choose, or, but you have to have the exemption or the vaccination in order to attend public school. So out of 323 students, our overall, for specifically MMR, you'll see if you look at the MMR tab, it's 89.2%. So what is significant about that number is that in order to have herd immunity, that number needs to be around 95, at least 95. So what that means is if potentially, again, not to panic, but just to keep it on our radar, if we were to have cases, we would have to think about different strategies to protect our local children. And this is only the Custer County School District from elementary to high school. Because like I said, in order to be considered fully vaccinated, you have to have your first dose at 1 or after, and then between the ages of 4 and 6 prior to entering kindergarten. So this does not include, the children that attend the child care facility, our Amish community, our homeschool community. So again, not to panic, but just to keep it on everybody's radar. Something that, may cause concern down the road.
What about the influx of not picking on Texas, but the influx of Texas coming up here come spring?
That's why I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention ahead of time in case. So, like I said, the CDC has been watching the counties affected in Texas very closely and hopefully are going to get a better containment of this virus. But since it is airborne and highly contagious, it is difficult. And this is probably one of the larger measles outbreak, I think, in the last at least 10 years from what I could find. It's a pretty big deal. So that's why I don't want people to panic, but just keep it on their radar because things may, if we do start seeing cases here in Colorado, we're going to be having a different conversation.
Well, panic doesn't solve anything.
Correct.
And case study after case study will show that panicking actually causes more harm than it does good. So, whether it's a refinery explosion or something even simpler than that, but.
Question for kids going to the park come spring.
Mhm.
Is there a distance that could be effective?
So that's really good
Depends on what
question.
they touch.
It does, and if they're running,
Playground, swings,
yeah, because
restrooms.
the measles can hang in the air. Like I said, it can hang there. So if they're running and coughing or playing or sneezing or whatever, that's why it's just, we're gonna keep a very close eye on this outbreak because it is so contagious. So like I said, just for more awareness purposes and for those traveling to be cautious with their travel if they are going to these affected counties in Texas or even nearby, because as you've kind of seen it, it went from Gaines, then to the surrounding, then to even potentially, even though they haven't proved it yet, to the New Mexico.
So how are you
side of
gonna
things.
get our citizens to know? You're gonna have to tell them the counties, you're gonna have to have some way to communicate that.
So,
That's where you and Sarah, or Sarah.
Would you like a
Sarah,
press
and
release?
Caitlin need to get together, come up with what public health announcements you wanna make, or PR
How do we get to word out?
with,
yeah, absolutely.
the two online newspapers and stuff.
Yeah, no, more than happy to. Yeah, like I said, it's more of an awareness right now, just because, we do not have any current correlated cases, but,
And that's how you wanna couch it in releases, so that we don't want people thinking, wow, the media are gonna come in here and kill us all.
right, exactly. Hopefully not the case, so.
I think we need to be more driving the message out there, where to find this information, than trying to grab every area as to where we post the information. Everybody should be driven to one place to find this information. Hey, if I have a question, I go to public health's website, or I go to, because otherwise we will spend a lot of time, energy, money to put it on Facebook, and we still only hit half of the people. It's more of a, where do we drive the people to get the message than drive the message out there, in my opinion.
The other thing that's important too, MMR, you said, and TB, you have vaccines available. So how long do they last? How many do you have, and how do you get it in time for anybody to get it taken out?
Leads into so as I was saying, MMR is, we do have available, so any child can come to us and we will vaccinate them. So if they have, insurance issues, please send them anyway. We have programs that we can get these children vaccinated. So.
Wait a minute, so really the question is, MMR should have been done when they were born.
No.
Or when they went, from a measles point of view, it would have been when they're old enough.
Right, so 1 year is your first dose.
Right.
And then your second dose comes between 4 and 6 years. Yes, correct.
So then you're trying to, right now he's telling us, you have the vaccines, if you missed it, get the moms aware of it. So that's the point, is how do you announce it to the people so that they know who can come in with it. It's just not everybody up in, all of a sudden they're gonna get everybody in the county coming and lining up at the.
Right, exactly. And that was a good question to refer back to Elliot's question.
Sure.
If, you want a titer, you can absolutely go to your physician and ask for it. A titer is a blood test to see if your body has the immunity to fight it.
That's a good one.
Exactly. So yes, we do have vaccines available. Please call. Then we also have, so tuberculosis does not have a vaccination. What we offer is tuberculosis testing. So what that looks like is we have a substance and we draw it up in a small needle. We take either one of your wrists and put the needle under and form, it's called a bleb. It's a very fun word. And what happens is the liquid, kind of almost comes up into about a bubble, small bubble. And what we look for is, so you get the injection on so day 1, you get the injection. We wait till at least 48 hours, and then we have you come back in, and what we want to see is that the bleb, or the little bubble, has dissipated. Yeah, so it kind of sinks back and disappears into your skin. That tells us that you most likely do not have tuberculosis. That is a negative test. If, for some reason, that blood did not go away, we would have to measure it and do all that things, because it could be indicative of potential tuberculosis. It may not be active tuberculosis, but you've had tuberculosis. And so that little bubble stays, it gets really hard, it can expand, it's fun, so.
So the public health announcement might want to know, or people might want to know, what symptoms would you exhibit to have you decide to get the kid in there, or yourself, to get the blood?
The blood, gotcha, absolutely. So I'll speak to a little bit of that: fever, malaise, difficulty breathing. Those are all very key signs. Lots of sweating, which is very interesting. testing and tuberculosis. And like I said, the risk to the general public is very low. It's more of your compound living. So if we had, like I said, a prison, that would be where tuberculosis can thrive. And we, as I said, our only assisted living that has communal living, they test our employees. So, but again, anybody can come up at any time if they just want to have peace of mind. It costs $25 per test. And it's not going to hurt you to do the testing. So if they do fear exposure, when they call for an appointment, to please let us know that they are not doing it for employment or school purposes, because we have a different procedure to keep us safe. So we'll probably perform the test outside if they fear, hey, I went to Mexico and went into a hostel and stayed there, and now I have these symptoms. I'm afraid I might have been exposed to tuberculosis, that type of style. So like I said, most of our TB testing is for employment or school purposes, but anybody can come and have it. All right, on to EPR. So we still have our emergency generators available. This is the picture of our Jackery. We will be attending a medical response and surge exercise with our region, which is the South region, which includes Fremont, Pueblo, Huerfano, and Los Angeles. We are planning to attend our local CES meeting in March, and we are still on the search for Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. So if you know anybody who really wants to come and hang out at Public Health and help us do the amazing things that we do, send them our way. Going fast, so let me know if you need me to slow down. As for our substance abuse and STEP grants, so STEP grants is our tobacco grants. Teaching has begun for the Catch My Breath curriculum, which is also includes anti-vaping, and this occurs to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th graders in their health class once a week for each grade for 4 weeks. They actually just had their first on yesterday, on the 19th. It went fairly well. So, and then following this Catch My Breath curriculum, will be substance use prevention lessons. So Patrick is going to go in and teach them about substance use prevention. So he said the curriculum on that one's pretty flexible. So I kind of suggested ask the students what they want to learn about, because they will be usually more engaged if they get to do some leading of the education. Exactly. So I'm going to try to attend a couple of these classes just to kind of pop in and get a feel for them, and I miss the kids, so I will try to attend. Probably Monday afternoon is going to be the first class. I'm going to sneak in there with Patrick and just kind of see how things are going. The Loxone kits we've distributed to the Lighthouse Pregnancy Center. That's a new location for these kits. So this will help mothers and young children if there's opiates in the house, just as a safety precaution. We also have recently put them in all school transport vehicles. So big and wonderful things. All right. As for our AED and CPR instructions, so we're trying to universalize the AEDs across Custer County. So this is the Zoll. This particular unit is the most affordable unit that we have found that you get the most bang for your buck. So the unit with our discount costs about $1,400. So that comes with pads and the unit itself. And I believe there are batteries already in it when you order it as a whole kit the first time. Replacement pads cost about $223. And then the batteries are C batteries, so they're 3 volts, so you can buy them in bulk, which is a really big deal because the previous batteries used in like the G3s and the G5s were like $500 a piece. This is a way more economical approach to this program. So you're looking at probably $1,800 to $2,000. So if you wanted to put them in every county entity or build it into their budget, that's kind of what you're looking around.
And they were those C batteries probably deal better with the cold than the lithium ions or nickel cadmiums that were in the other ones units as well.
I'd have to look in a little bit more detail. You would think so, but I would want to back it up with some data just to make sure that we're not putting the equipment
Are
at
they looking
risk.
at a replacement if they already have the older ones, or are they still?
That's up to commissioners. If you guys, it depends on what approach you want to take. If they have an older unit, some of the units like the G3 are out there, they've been discontinued, their supplies have been discontinued, so yes, I would look at a replacement.
You have a log of every AED we have in county.
I believe so, yes, Patrick is managing that.
Right, and we gotta make sure it doesn't look, none of them look like that.
No, they're the other ones,
So,
Yeah.
both, road and bridge.
so we just wanna make sure you have the up-to-date one with the right batteries, and they're all.
Yeah, this is,
That would be nice if all we have to do is go to the yeah,
Right.
go to wherever, one central spot, or, yeah, you can go down to Dollar General and you can pick up
Pick up a battery.
Yeah,
batteries and
So you get
it's
$500
Very
$12.
cost effective. So, and this is our unit, actually, this is right, taken out from ours at Public Health, so.
Oh, so you got a better deal.
You know, well, and that's where Patrick and I have been looking into like a bulk deal too, so if you
Mhm.
did wanna replace
Right,
a majority, like, hey, we're finding units in the county that are obsolete, let's look at, hey, if we order 10, will they cut us a
Upgrade.
bigger deal? So,
right.
Bulk buy.
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
You don't want to buy something that won't stop.
No, so that's just things that we've been working on in this program.
Okay.
Classes have been performed at SAR, and OEM actually tagged a couple of their volunteers into that class. So those are the most recent trainings that we had. That was back in earlier February, late January that we performed those. So if people are still looking for CPR, AED, stop the bleed classes, please give us a call.
I'm sorry, just one question on this for
Sure.
clarification. Would you recommend that, like, for example, at the theater, we have AEDs and we went through training last year. How often do you recommend going through training? Once a year?
Good
Or,
question. So if you get certified, it's every 2 years.
Okay.
So if you want a class just for fun, or like, hey, or if you have a near miss or something, like an event happens and you're like, I need a debriefing and I'd like to train, follows.
Okay.
We don't have to certify, so on the next slide, I'll kind of explain that here in a little bit. It's kind of down, so jump to, here's our little baby. Not my baby, this is Nellis. He's our little sponsor for our vision grant. He sponsors our sunglasses. So connecting with Lighthouse, I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit so we can finish up this topic. Infant and maternal health education and support resources. So last year, we performed a non-certification class for mothers and children. So they could come, take and get the information, but they didn't have to worry about taking a test or getting a certification. It was just for more knowledge-based purposes.
Air away.
Exactly. And so we actually connected with Lighthouse, I believe it was a couple weeks ago already, and we offered, hey, would you like us to come over and give a non-certification class so these mothers could walk away, or caregivers could walk away with this knowledge? Or you could go the route like, hey, the theater department really wants to have a CPR, AED card, a heart saver card. Absolutely. So it's just, with the certification comes the cost, and we don't make a profit off of that. We charge what the card costs, what the class costs. So it's at fee. So we don't charge any surplus.
Is there anything that would let visitors or people in the town know where they are? Because Road and Bridge has one in each one of our.
Are you talking about AEDs, the machines? Okay. That's a good question. We have like a city map. Most of them are like.
Someone comes up visiting and all of a sudden they feel that they have the need or whatever, where to go.
911.
Yes, always call 911.
Does the
Yes.
sheriff's have it?
Yes, the sheriff should have, they have several, actually.
They're trying to put one in every vehicle.
Right,
And
that's
keep it
what
in
I
the
heard.
vehicle.
I'm ready to do that, but I didn't know.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when you buy these kits, like they have signs, so like up at school, they have a sign that says AED, and it's right where the unit is located. Most of them come, and we could always order signs. The AED Superstore that we purchased through does have those.
But there's nothing on the outside of the building that actually says there's.
Well, they're not always open, like the library's got one, but they're not open on Mondays, I believe, so, what,
School's got it.
Yeah,
911.
No.
911.
Yes, and usually your employees will know, and that's why, when we educate for CPR, we always say, hey, if you have an AED machine in your building, know where it is and teach others where it is too, because, if you're the one who's trained and you're giving CPR, somebody else is gonna have to run and go grab that machine. So we do educate while we certify, hey, make sure if you're aware that this building has an AED. So you could put up a sign in the window too.
I just wondered if there was anything 911, but the Road and Bridge were also.
Absolutely, yeah, which is an excellent safety feature, because you guys are there sometimes when nobody else is, so it's very good to know that, and I don't know if the general public knows that information either, so we'll have to get that out, the word out, that Road and Bridge is AED, or that Road and Bridge is CPR certified. So. Fantastic. So HCP is our program for children with any type of special needs. So we do mostly info and referral in this program, and we have helped 8 families since I believe we started back last fall. So we've started to really see this program blossom, and most of the referrals contain nutritional needs and developmental delays. So getting those families the services and support that they need. Reach out and read. So if you refer to your handout, you'll see this little poster. So we've been a part of this program. So this is when a child comes in for vaccination, they get free books. And we have, over the past 6 years, given out 489 books, which is pretty impressive, and 82 books just last year. So this program we have really seen grow, which is pretty impressive to watch. All right, and then the Children's Health Fund. So I have written a grant, and it is now being considered by the Children's Health Fund for free sports physicals for 100 local children. So I have a partnership with a local health entity that will come in and do these sports physicals for the fee. And like I said, we will service hopefully up to 100 children.
We need to get that grant in front of the BOCC to approve.
That's right.
We haven't been awarded the funds yet. So they usually disperse the funds around March. So, oh my gosh, that's gonna go super fast, isn't it? So,
Yeah, that's true.
We can,
yeah, so they used to do this a few years ago, I believe back in 2021. But what's different about this is that we're not going to ask about insurance. So it is any child that wants a sports physical, come and tell us, we will schedule an appointment. This will also give us an opportunity to advertise for our other grant funds. So our vision grant, our dental grant, and and our immunization program if people so choose. So this is going to be a really wonderful opportunity for public health to get those kids out and doing good things. So, and then our RN staff, so myself and another nurse, have completed CPS and APS training. So CPS is Child Protective Services, APS is Adult Protective Service training. So this is to make sure, because we as nurses are automatically what's considered mandatory reporters. So if we see abuse, we are legally obligated, not that we wouldn't, but we are legally obligated to report that. So this is just further education and certification that we are aware, we know what to look for, and we know how to report. So we have encouraged our other staff that has patient interaction to complete this training as well, just so that all of our staff is prepared to keep our citizens safe. All right. Oh, and with Lighthouse too, we're gonna consider doing a focus group to try to see what other educational opportunities that we can provide for our caregivers and families. So just a side note. On to radon. So radon is an odorless radioactive gas produced when uranium decays in soil. Why this is prominent is this happens a lot in mining communities, which we are right up that alley. So what happens is radon gas can move up and through the ground into your home through cracks and holes in your foundation and become trapped inside. And they are correlating things like lung cancer to high radon exposure. So this is a very prominent issue here, like I said, in this area. So we have 90 free home testing kits still available. So please come on by. We've actually seen a couple of real estate agents come and grab some for their clients, which is pretty awesome that word is getting out, because even though it's not law yet, they are considering, before selling or buying a home that you have to have radon testing.
All the banks require.
Exactly. So, and there is if people are unable to afford mitigation, there is a low-income mitigation program run by the state. We have more information at Public Health. Please come see us if you think that you would like to consider mitigating. So, and that's kind of what our little test kit looks like. We didn't want to open one, but this is what the laboratory that we use sending out. So. Yay. Okay, so upcoming community outreach events. So I actually forgot to add this one because I went to Landing Well this morning to work with, we had the guest speaker Dominic, our VSO, to inform us about veteran services and how we better can provide, especially for, so Landing Well focuses on seniors. So we focused on how better we can serve our local veterans. So please, if people are curious, Landing Well is new. It's a resource website. Please take a handout and spread the word. And our next meeting is March 20th, and we're going to be looking at medical transportation in the valley. So big topics to tackle, but it's a very wonderful group to be a part of. Preschool dental day. So what I'm working on is with Lori, the director of the Early Childhood Center and preschool, is to bring a hygienist in to both the preschool and the child care center to provide cleanings, screenings, and dental education. So back when I was a school nurse, she came in and she played a game where the kids dressed up as teeth, and they had a rope and they flossed each other. It was really cute. So it's gonna be a fun day. So that date is still being decided, but we're thinking probably somewhere in April, but definitely before school gets out. So those funds come from our Children's Health and Dental Fund, so, and cavity free at 3 program. So 0 to 3, and then the preschool age is what we'll be focusing on that day.
So what do you do when they need a dentist? You refer them somewhere?
They could get referred. So our hygienist comes out of Canyon Family Dental. Her name is Jennifer Foster. She's absolutely wonderful. She's been a dental hygienist for over, I believe, 15 years and has a specialty with children. So she'll clean and screen, and then if she thinks they need a further eval, yeah, she'll let the parents know. She gives them a little sheet of like, this is where my concerns are, or hey, we had a cleaning, you know, the child needed a filling. So how this grant works is that, so cavity free by 3, since usually they don't have too many teeth when they're babies, but teaching early dental education to parents is a huge part of prevention. So that's that age group, but above where they're actually brushing teeth and things like that, they come home with a free toothbrush, floss, and toothpaste, and a little handout about, you know, the importance of
Doing eyeglasses too.
Yes, we do. With the dental, there is a $1,000 spending limit per child, so that helps us maximize grant funding so that not all the funds drain into one child or one family. So 1,000 max per child. So if they do need extensive, you know, more dental work, at least we can take a little bit of the edge off. And they do pay 10%, so that kind of keeps them honoring so that they show up for the appointments and things like that.
Don't want them to dodge it because they can't afford it.
Exactly. And then for the vision grant, yes, they can get a free eye exam and a pair of glasses, so per child. And we helped, I believe, at least 4 children last year, which was awesome. And then, yeah, we'll be participating in CCKC Family Fun Day on the 14th, so please come out and see us. We're still trying to decide which kind of goodies we're gonna hand out, so that'll be an exciting time. Awesome, so this is a new slide. This is for financial transparency. I called it the financial report. So to kind of keep the public involved in, hey, we know public health gets a lot of grants. What are they doing with those grants? So we got to host a successful internal grant workshop on the 5th. So instead of a staff meeting, we did a grant workshop where we took all of our grants, broke them down, figured out where the funding comes from, how we get paid, how much we get paid, what our limitations and deliverables for each grant were, so that we could strategically plan how to use the funding to the greatest capacity. And I felt like, Paul and both and Lucas got to kind of see a little bit of a sneak peek in there, so.
What was nice is they put down when the payments are expected to come in, so we can really watch. So as soon as a payment doesn't come, either we can make a phone call and go, what's going on?
Yeah.
So we know if all of a sudden it gets, because most likely we're not gonna get notified if all of a sudden they cut it. So, or it's gonna be later than what that, so, Rhonda wrote all those down. We got a schedule as to what's come in, what we expect to come in on that grant in the future, so we can track it, so she can kind of keep in track with Virginia, parallel with Virginia, because Virginia receipts all that. So we can go, hey, Virginia, we think this should have hit here, and she can go, oh yeah, I did, or no, I don't see it. Usually that one comes in 3 days later or whatnot, so.
Absolutely, and then if you'll refer to your handout packet too, there's a budget status report as well as our active balance, and it's broken down from each grant, the payments that we are expecting, the payments that we have received. So what we have available in just pure grant funds as today in the bank is $67,145.94. So if the government decides to not send us any more money, that's what we have.
And you meter it out, finish it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and due to those funding freezes and cuts and the federal funding budget review, we are really working closely with our county's financial director to plan for potential cuts in grant money. So we've already had 2 meetings just to kind of prep ourselves so that we are proactive instead of reactive. Because it's very unclear of what's actually gonna happen here at Public Health. So, and things change on the daily, so we're just gonna stay really on top of it. And let me know if you guys have any questions on those budgeting sheets I can explain there as well. So my questions for you guys, and like I said, we've already kind of worked with it, but just depending on how severe the federal funding cuts are, what our next steps look like, just to see where the county support is able to be. And like I said, we're working with Vernon and Lucas very closely, but just more of an awareness in case things don't go so well.
Well, I don't think we need to go into this a lot because we don't have a lot of time left, but we've also talked about as the state goes to universal or at least statewide building codes, how that might change planning and zoning and what we do to take out of planning and zoning that's might be typically in most counties' public health departments and what the makeup of that all is, and will we have upcoming workshops on that? And it may take us several workshops to really vet out, and then we still don't know what the state's gonna do. It's all based upon how legislature puts it out there and whether the governor vetoes it or puts full support behind it, so.
Awesome. So my other question is, our EPR regional coordinator, the state is wanting us to switch from Linda Smith to Cindy Flower. So Cindy Flower is over the south region, so that's Fremont, Huerfano, Las Animas, and Pueblo. So the state feels like it'll be potentially more of a strategic resource to have us rejoin with our previous region.
So
Is what it should have been.
Right, should have stayed.
what's the EPR regional coordinator and I guess we'll ask this offline, but I'd like to know what that person does for us and how they interplay with all of our other EPR stuff, right? Because if it's just once here or once there, I don't know.
So
Is it-
yeah, we meet with, so we have met, since Patrick and I are newer to the roles of EPR, familiar with it, but really
Yeah.
taking it on and doing an in-depth dive. Linda has been there at any time that we've called, and Cindy has also just kind of jumped in to see, where she could support us already. We have not officially switched. I wanted to come to the Board of Health to decide if that
What
is
does
something.
support mean?
So she's education, contacts, so if there was a disaster, she would help us coordinate that disaster with regional resources. That makes sense, yeah. So that's the best way that I understand it.
Is that different? That's different than what, well, it used to be Kristen Coleman, I forget who, she
Yes.
moved up and I don't.
Yes, so yeah, Christy Coleman used to be in this position a long time ago, she is.
I
yes.
forget who is in because this ties in with OEM, so
Yeah,
we've got public health EPR, we got OEM EPR.
And
And,
OEM is already under Cindy Flower.
oh, so did she take Christy Coleman's position or?
No.
I don't know how
Because
that
Christy Coleman
transferred.
moved up to the state level and
Right.
the regional, somebody
It's
else is.
not Cindy. I don't know who it is.
But
We'll have to formalize what that organization chart looks like and who's,
Who's who?
yeah. So,
yeah, because Linda Smith is in like the San Juan area, so again, from the state standpoint, that's why they were encouraging us to rejoin, because OEM is already under Cindy Flower, so it just theoretically be more cohesive,
Okay,
because we're not splitting into 2 different regions where especially, and Linda Smith has been great, but she is distant from us. So, just a topic for discussion.
we'll get together and we'll make an org chart that we can present, so we kind of all have an idea of who's where and who's who and what do they do and, okay.
One more slide. And then, of course, I wanted to remember Beth Green, so she unfortunately passed away on the 18th at 9:30 a.m. So she dedicated 10 years of service to Custer County Public Health. She's a dedicated nurse. She was very passionate about her position on Custer County Kids
I
Council.
didn't realize she passed away.
She lost her battle with cancer.
Yeah, no, she probably.
So we're just sending out thoughts and prayers to her family, because she was a very important part.
Her
She-
husband's name.
It's not Paul, it's, no, and she's very concerned, so if you know him, please reach out.
Yeah, I do know.
She
him.
came to us and she was like, please take care of him after I'm gone, so
Yeah.
we're gonna try to provide him with some support, so. But yeah, she was just a beautiful individual, and I was lucky enough to learn from her, and she was able to support me back when I was a school nurse, so I just wanted to give her a shout
No,
out.
perfect.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we're gonna have to move on.
Yeah.
Yep, nope,
We
Perfect.
are-
So what we gotta do is the last thing,
Reappoint the chair.
reappoint the chair. So I would recommend that we appoint with you, chairman,
Okay.
I'll be the vice chairman.
Okay.
All of these boards.
so much.
Any additional items of business as chair, current chair now? I guess we should vote on that.
We have to,
You made the motion.
we made a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any additional items of business?
Who was vice chair?
Huh?
Bill was
Bill's
vice chair.
vice chair.
Thank you, commissioners, have a good
Thanks.
day.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second was, Canada. I made
He
the.
made the motion, I seconded it, and
We all voted
we all voted on it.
And that's
And we passed it.
incredible work.
Sounds good. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Good, good.
Public comment, there's no public comment. Nobody online? I adjourn this meeting at
2:02.
2:02.